Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Anita.
Anita who?
I need to think of a good joke for this naming project I'm doing. So in this project, we're going to create an interactive programming using the letters of your name. You're going to click on each letter and it's going to do some unique animation. This is a really cool project to explore some of the different features of Scratch. And it's a really good project to get creative and just try to mess around with different things and see what you can make happen. The only limitation is your imagination. So the first thing we're going to do is actually create the sprite. So we're going to create a different sprite for each letter of our name. I have 4 letters in my name, so I'm going to create 4 sprites. If your name happens to be Anita, which my aunt, Anita, that's her name, she would create 5 sprites. So let's go ahead and create those sprites.
Okay, my fellow Scratchers, welcome back to Scratch Town. So in this animation, we're going to create the letters of our name. Each letter is going to be its own sprite, and we're going to create an interactive program that animates the letters of our name. Now, before we get started, because I do encourage you to be creative and use your imagination and creativity to create your own animations, the most important block in this project is under the Look section, and it is the Change Effect block. And we have a bunch of effects, and you could use any one of them. Now, the key is that whatever effect you use, you need to reverse equally so that when all is said and done, your letter looks exactly like it did before the animation. And if that's confusing to you, you'll get the hang of it as we proceed. So once again, I logged into my Scratch account. I hit Create to start a new program. And as always, we need to name it. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to name this project Animated Name. So obviously I'm going to use my name, Jeff, and I suggest you use yours. Although, hey, any word can be animated. Right, it's just the process. That's what's important. We're not going to use the cat, so I'm going to delete this sprite. So I hover over the cat, right-click, and delete. Now, there's a number of ways that we can create our sprites. In this project, we're going to use both the library as well as the drawing tool. So for my J-E-F-F, for my J, let's go into the library. So new sprite, I'm going to click Giga over here, click. And under the categories, you see that in the middle right here, 4th from the bottom, it says letters. So I click on letters, and we have a bunch of different letters we can use. 3 to be exact. I guess that's not officially a bunch. Well, there you go, 4. We could call that a bunch. It's a bunch. And J, I'm going to use this cool orange colored J. So I'm going to double click, get that in my project. For the E, I'm going to use the drawing tool. So I'm going to click on the paintbrush next to Giga. Click. And for the E, I'm going to use the text tool. I'm going to click on text, pick a color I like. I like blue. I'm going to click center and type in an E. Click away, make it bigger, move it back to center, and click away again, and that looks good. I got my E. Right there, J-E. Okay, so we got the J, we got the E. Now I need 2 F's. So for my first F, I'm going to go once again to the library, and I'm going to get an F. So I'm going to click on Giga. I'm going to click on letters, and I'm going to go down to right here, glow works for me. J-E-F-F. And for my fourth sprite, my second F, I'm going to once again use the drawing tool. And for this one, I'm going to paint the letters. So I'm going to choose a color, let's say F, and you could take as much time and be as creative as you want to create your letters. For the purposes of time, I'm just going to quickly scribble an F as fast as I can. So I'm going to use my paintbrush, and I'm going to set the size of the head of the paintbrush, the width, a little bit wider, and I'm going to create an F. Yeah, that looks like an F to me. Not the best F, but it's an F nonetheless. And I'm going to put that right next to that other F.
Now for each of the sprites we just created, we're going to create a script using the when this sprite clicked event. Now when you use the when this sprite clicked event, what you're actually doing is turning your sprite into a button. We often do that when we create a start button. So I've included in this description below a link to a little cheat sheet with about 8 different ways you can animate your letters. I'm going to use 4 in the project that we're going to do now. You can download it, feel free to use them, but again, I encourage you to get creative and do your own thing.
So there we have J-E-F-F. So we got the 4 sprites. Now we need to animate them. So the first thing I'm going to animate is the J. So I'm going to click on the J to get to it. Now basically we're going to turn each one of these sprites into a button, and when we click on the button or the letter, something cool is going to happen, something unique for each sprite. So we're going to go to events and get the when this sprite clicked event. Now for the J, I'm going to use a very simple animation. And all these animations, by the way, are on the little cheat sheet that I included with this video, and there's a link to it in the description down below. And this is what I call the spin. So basically, the letter is going to spin full circle, 360 degrees one way, and then spin back. So to do that, we're going to go into Control, and since we're spinning one way and then spinning back, we're going to need 2 repeat blocks. In the first repeat block, we're going to spin one way, so we're going to go to Motion. I'm going to grab the turn command. Now 360 degrees in a circle, so you could configure this any way you want, but I'm going to simply go 36 times 10 degrees, 36 times 10. And just to change things up a little bit, to get back, I'm going to switch that up. So I'm going to repeat 10 times and do it 36 degrees. And you can play with this any way you like. There we go. We animated the J. Let's check it out. I come to my program, click on the J, slow and fast back. You can play with those numbers, but remember, when you multiply the repeat times the degrees, it should equal 360, full circle. Okay, so let's move on to the E. So I'm going to click on E. I'm going to now animate this sprite, and for this one I'm going to use the divide and unite. So basically we're going to have our E divide into multiple E's and then unite back into one E, and to make this happen we're going to use the mosaic effect. So once again, go to events, click on the when this sprite clicked, Control, and we're going to again need 2 repeats, one to mess it up and one to bring it back. And again, these numbers are not fixed. You can play with them. You just need to reverse in the second loop what you did in the first loop. So I'm going to use a repeat of 20 times, and this is exactly as it is on the cheat sheet that I included. I'm going to go to Looks, and we're going to use the effect command, and we're going to change not the color effect, but we're going to change the mosaic effect. And for this animation, we're going to change it by 8, 20 times. And also, we're going to have it grow as it divides. So to have it grow, we need to use the change size command also in looks. Change size. And we're going to change size by 10. So that's good as it is. And to control the speed at which this happens, control section and use the wait command. Now wait for 1 second is way too long. I'm going to wait for 1/10 of a second, which is 0.1. So here I've changed by 8. I grew by 10. So now I have to do the opposite to get back to the way it is now. So I'm going to change by -8 and shrink by -10. So get my second repeat loop. We're going to do it 20 times. 2, 0. Go back to looks. Get the change effect command. Once again, we're going to change the mosaic. We're going to change by -8. And we are going to change the size, not by 10 this time, but by -10 or -10. And we're going to wait just as long. Now you could wait just as long or not wait. Again, this is up to you. Play with it. I suggest you play with it and explore and have fun with this project. I'm going to wait for 0.1 second. And click on the E and it divides and unites. Now at this point, let me note that if your letters get all messed up, like for example, if something like this happens and it's not its original size, if you go back to the look section, you'll see that there is a clear graphics effects command. So if I double click this, it brings the E back. Now of course, we still have to set the size to 100%. And now E is back to normal. So it's very easy to undo any mistakes that you might create. So please, explore. Can't break it, promise. All right, so the first F. For the first F, I'm going to use a blur and back. All right, these are names I created myself. The blur and back. So for this effect, what we're going to use is a pixelate command. Now I'm going to do something real cool here because efficiency is everything. Our time is valuable. So if we can do what we need to do in less time, that is more efficient, and we want to be efficient. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this script and I'm going to move it into that first F. Let go. Now you'll notice that when I click on the F, the script that I put there is there. And the only change we want to do for the blur and back is change the effect from mosaic to pixelate. Oop, see what happened? It got all messed up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear the graphic effect. It's back. And then I'm going to come here and change this to pixelate. And now, I did that on purpose, guys. You know that, right? And now I'm going to click on the F. And it's blurring back. Very cool. Okay, for the second F, I'm going to use a zoop and spin. Now, to create the zoop and spin, we need to get the zoop sound. Sounds are just like costumes and sprites, backdrops. They can be recorded, they can be uploaded, or you can get them from the library. Zoop is a sound in the library, so I'm going to go to Sounds. I'm going to click on the speaker that allows us to choose a sound from the library. Zoop is an effect, so I'm going to go to Effects, and there's Zoop. So I'm going to click OK. And now we have the Zoop. Now we have the Zoop sound in our project. So I'm going to go to Scripts. Now once again, we got to get the When This Sprite Clicked event. Go to sounds to play the zoop command. And now we're going to spin. So once again, we're going to spin one way, then spin the other way. So we're going to need a repeat loop from control. (360° in a circle. So the number of times we repeat multiplied by the number of degrees need to have a product of 360. So I'm going to go to motion to get my turn command. And we're going to turn 36 times. And each time we're going to do 10 degrees. At this point, we're going to also change the size. So I'm going to go into looks, get the size, change size command. We're going to change by 10. Now here's a little shortcut. Since we want to take this repeat loop and just simply do the opposite, I'm going to use the duplicator block here. So I click on the duplicator block. I go to the repeat loop, click and drag, and stick it underneath. And now I want to go 360 degrees. I want to go the opposite direction. So I'm going to put a -10 here. So -10 to the right is the same as 10 to the left. These two blocks do the same exact thing. And since we grew 10 by 10, we're going to shrink by 10 using a -10. And then we'll throw in a zoop at the end. Now we click on letter. There you go. We have our letters animated. Pretty cool, huh? So the last thing I would do here is add a background to make it look a little better. So I'm going to click on Stage, Backdrops. You could draw your own. I'm going to go into the library, and I'm going to go to Other here, and I'll take this black backdrop. Double click. There you go. That's kind of cool. I could put the letters anywhere I want them to go. And there you go, guys. Jeff is animated. Very animated guy.
So there you go, guys. We just animated our name. Pretty cool, huh? Hope you got creative. So as always, like what you like. Subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see you next time.